Hello, this is Nadia from She Builds Again, and today I am in a different setting and I'm going to be sharing with you about three things to know before you pick the perfect destination to move for you and your family. And so, if you don't know me, I moved here to Bali, Indonesia about 3.5 years ago, and my family have been navigating the highs, the lows, and everything in between as we just figure out life in a different country. It's a different culture, there's different religions, different languages. And so, what I think is really fun and interesting is that you get to learn about all of these things, but it also challenges you in many ways. And so, you want to pick the right place. You want to make sure that this place is aligned with whatever season or chapter you're in your life. And so right now I'm in a busy restaurant, so you're going to hear lots of things going on in the background. Hopefully I can help with if I edit this and make it a little smoother. But I'm just here sitting down. I'm going to have lunch in a little bit. I ordered a falafel that comes with some chips and some sparkling water. So this is just my time before I have to take care of the kids again. My husband's with them right now, swimming in the pool, and I have a massage later. But then my husband starts work in the evening, so I'll be on mom duty, auntie duty, and I'm here actually with my family for the Nyepi holiday. It's a silent day holiday, and all of Bali is shut down. All of the streets are quiet. You're not allowed to be outside. You shouldn't make a lot of noise. And so we've been here for the last 3 nights. So I'm going to dive into the first tip that I have or suggestion that I have, which is to pick a country that aligns with whatever season or chapter you're in right now in your life. And so in the book, Eat, Pray, Love, which I read when I was around 18 years old, Elizabeth Gilbert says that every country has a word, and it's like a spirit, an essence of that country. And so a place like Bali might be peace or healing. A place like New York might be fast paced hustle. A place like California might be beach or surf or laid back. There are so many different words and energies at different places. Even within a country, there can be different cities within that place that have, a different spirit or essence to them. And so that's what you have to do. You have to figure out where you want to go in the world, where you want to travel to, where you want to move to, and figure out where are you personally in your life right now, and does that place that you're thinking of moving align in terms of the energy, the pace, all of that. And so this is really going to require you to just sit down, I would say, and have some quiet time to really reflect on where you are. What is this season? What are you trying to learn right now? What are you trying to build or grow? What are you trying to focus on with your family or yourself or your marriage, even? And just being so clear and intentional about that. And so, for sure, I can say 100% hands down that when we moved to Bali 3.5 years ago, I was in a place and a space where I desperately needed healing and I needed quiet. I needed a time to just reflect and get away from just the pressures, I would say, of the island that I had come from. So I come originally from an island called Bermuda, and it's a beautiful place. There's, beautiful beach life and beautiful beaches all over the place. But as locals, we don't actually get a chance to really enjoy the beaches as much as you would think. And I believe it's because when you are an adult and you are trying to pay bills and make ends meet, I feel like you can easily get wrapped up in the culture of just working and hustling and working so hard just to ensure that yourself and your family and your future is in a good place. And so that's exactly what I found with life in Bermuda. There is a very high cost of living. It's extremely expensive. And because of that, people just work so hard to pay the bills, to make sure that they can cover rent, to make sure that their kids are in a good private school or whatever after school activities they want to do, that you can afford those. And then travel on top of that, like the cost of living can easily just start to creep up. And so for us, that just did not align. I felt like I was kind of crippled and crushed by this high cost of living. And I didn't feel like a fun, enjoyable place to grow and thrive. And even when I was younger, I had various reasons why it felt very small in this community. And so it's nothing wrong with a particular country, obviously. Like, there are going to be people that love that place in a different season of their lives, right? But for me and where I was and where my husband was, it just did not align. And so the exciting thing is that you are not a tree and you can choose to move. And there are so many exciting opportunities. There are so many great visas that some countries are rolling out to allow you to live there for 1 year or 3 years or 5 years or even longer. And so I would just say to be very clear about where you are in this particular season of life. If you have kids, if you're focused on raising your family, if you just want peace, just be honest about naming that season. And once you name the season, then it becomes a lot easier to pick which country and which part of the world aligns with that. So do that activity, figure out what season you're in, what chapter of life you're currently in with yourself, with your family, with your marriage, and then make a list. And we'll go into this in another point as well, and figure out which countries you think would match that energy that you're going for. So if you're in a place where you are thinking about moving and you are undecided about the right place that would be a good fit for you, then I want you to start to think about the lifestyle that you want. And so, one activity that I've done many, many times before is called an ideal day activity. And basically, what you do is you get out pen and paper or even on your laptop and you write down from the start of the day at whatever time you wake up, whether it's 5 a.m. or 7 a.m., you start to list what your ideal day looks like. And so make a list of everything that you'd want to do in that ideal day. This is not a everyday random day. This is like the best day that you can imagine. This is like a day that just lights you up, gets you excited about life, is filled with things that you love, but it's something that's also sustainable and something that you can replicate and build an incredible life around. So do that right now if you have time. I want you to get out that piece of paper. I want you to write down whatever time that you're planning on waking up in your ideal day. It could be 5 o'clock in the morning. Maybe you go for a beach walk and you watch the sunset. Or maybe it's 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock and you wake up without an alarm and you go downstairs and you make your favorite cup of coffee and you make yourself a lovely breakfast. And then you go off and you do Pilates or surfing or paddle. And then you maybe dive into work for a few hours and write down very specifically what that day looks like, how you feel, and even in the evening, like what are you doing? You're most likely, if you have a family, it's probably time for you and the kids to bond. Maybe you have dinner, maybe you get them ready for bed. If you don't have kids, then maybe that looks completely different. Maybe you're hanging out with friends, maybe you're on a beach sipping a coconut, watching the sunset. Just get really clear on what that ideal day looks like. And then once you have that, you have a blueprint and an example that you can start to use to line it up with countries in the world that would allow you to live that life. So if you love surfing, then maybe certain destinations would not be a good fit for you. So Bangkok may not be a great fit, or London may not be a great fit. You want to figure out if there are certain activities that would really, really make life worth living, and there's a certain lifestyle that you want, where you can actually find that in the world, where you can do those hobbies easily, where you can have that weather, whether you like maybe cooler weather or whether you like hot weather year round. Just get super clear on what that looks like for you. And then it's going to start to give you clues around where you can possibly live to live your best life and enjoy your best life. The last thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is creating a short list. And so I already mentioned a little earlier that you can start to figure out from these two exercises that you previously did, the ideal day exercise and also the knowing your season exercise, what countries are going to be a good selection for you and your family in this particular season. But then the next thing I want you to do, let's say you have 3 countries, 5 countries, maybe 10 countries. I want you to start to list out pros and cons. And the reason why I think this next step is important before you pick a final destination is because everywhere has pros and cons. And so one place might have the great weather, it might have the great surfing or the great paddle that you love, but it might have other things that you don't like so much. Maybe there's not a stable political system, or maybe there's a challenging infrastructure, or maybe the cost of living is too expensive. So these are all things that you need to consider if you are planning on relocating internationally, right? So I want you to make a list, do some research, and list out some of the pros and cons. You can even use ChatGPT for something like this, and it would help you to generate based on the research it does on the internet. There are so many different Reddit posts and different Facebook groups that probably already have 1,000,001 people who have weighed in about life in this particular part of the world, right? You're not going to be the first and you're not going to be the last. So, with that said, write down the list, the short list, and then write down the pros and cons, and then start to figure out which place has the most pros, right? Forget about, or if this place that has a lot of cons, maybe just cross it out entirely. But once you have some of those places that have an incredible amount of pros, then the next step, if you're really, ahead of the game and you have a long time before you're planning on relocating, definitely visit. I would highly suggest that. My husband and I were thinking of moving to Malaysia at one point because they have a really great visa program and pretty good cost of living. And we had heard some really great things about the food and the weather, and they have a really great healthcare system as well. And so that was a lot of the things that we were looking for. But when we actually visited, we realized, and we were so thankful that we didn't end up moving there because it just didn't align with us. The people were not as friendly as we found in Bali, and altogether it was just really hard for us to communicate with people. I think there was a lot more of a language barrier. English wasn't as widely spoken, at least when we were there, and we just found it a little hard to navigate as foreigners. On top of that, my husband was sick during our trip, and so it was just a lot going on. I feel like when you step into the country that you're supposed to be, you just know, you just feel like a sense of peace, and like you're supposed to be there, like you've arrived home. But when you're in a different country that just doesn't work for you, and it's nothing to do with the country, I think it's just, we all go through seasons of life. Like if I try Malaysia again when I'm maybe in a different season, I'm 50 years old, my kids are off at university, then life is going to be completely different. And it might be the perfect place for me in that season. But in the season that I am now with kids, with my husband who needs to work, it just didn't work for us. And so those are my top tips. Definitely knowing your season and the chapter that you're in your life personally, and making sure that the country that you pick aligns with that. Other thing is the lifestyle, making sure that the lifestyle that you want, the ideal lifestyle that you want, matches with that country. And last but not least, creating that pros and cons list so that you are just realistic and aware of what are the good things and the bad things about every country, because they have them both and you have to take the good with the bad. But also, you'll start to see that there are going to be a few front liars, and there's a few places that probably have a lot more pros than they do cons. And then you can start to, if you decide to travel and visit that place before you move, or you can just take the leap and see how it goes if you're risky and you want to, just gamble a little bit, right? And it could work out. It could very well work out. But I feel like it's always a safe bet, especially if you're moving with kids, to have visited the place before, or at least have friends and family that you know of who have visited and can give you a first person account of what it's like to live in that part of the world. So those are my tips. Those are the things that worked for us as a family. We had visited Bali for the first time in 2017. So we already knew a little bit of what it was like. We already knew that the people were very friendly and that there was a beautiful culture and history. We already knew that there was so much to see and do, and it's so much larger than the island that we come from, which is very, very small. And so there's so much to explore. And for us, there's just a sense of, oh, diversity that's very exciting in terms of the environment and geography. We can, go to the mountains, we can go to the beaches, we can enjoy the city life, we can just do so many things here with kids. And so those are the things that have really made life so much more enjoyable for us in this chapter and in this season. So I hope that you like this episode. Let me know in the comments if you are planning to relocate anywhere, like what are your top 3 places that are really exciting you the most right now and feel like they might be the best fit for you and maybe your family and your husband and your partner. And if you've made it this far in the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm still a new channel, but I'm really excited to be sharing this content, sharing my story, sharing my journey. And I'd love to continue to create these kind of videos for you. So it was really great to talk to you, and I'll see you in another video soon.